morning, APWU family. How are you? Fantastic. It is so great to be here with all of you. Wow, look at this crowd. I see activists, I see leaders, I see power. Yeah. Thank you for being there for our labor movement. And before I get started, I just want to recognize the incredible leadership team of this great union and making phenomenal things happen every single day. Your president, Mark Dimmenstein. Can we just give him a round of applause? Because as he said, he is not only leading APWU, but also sits at what I call the big table of all the AFL-CIO union leaders. And we really appreciate you, Mark, for your thought leadership, your partnership. Yes, we tussle every now and again, don't we? But that's what this is about. This is about debate, ideas, bringing the best of our labor movement together. And so I wanted to appreciate Mark and his leadership. And certainly, I know my sister Liz Powell, Secretary-Treasurer, I say as a fellow former Secretary-Treasurer myself, I know that job, I know how difficult it can be, but so important to make sure our dues money is used wisely. And Debbie Zaretti, thank you so much for your leadership, always being there, especially as a strong woman leader who, we know this moment for women, what this means. Judy Beard, you got a lot of power women in the APWU. And with that team, your division leaders, your National Executive Board, as I said, all of you have stepped up in countless ways as these past several years have thrown us all kinds of new challenges. And you were there. You have faced a pandemic that led to more people staying home, but they were taking on more deliveries, right? Because people were in their homes. And that was you, making sure that happened. You've navigated, at times, hostile, new leadership at the Postal Service. You have taken on a growing role in our elections, truly serving on the front lines of our democracy. That's you. And we are so grateful as a labor movement for you and all that you've done to get us through. And voting by mail. This is our future. Making our voices heard in our elections. You make that possible. And your commitment, your dedication, are the reason why millions of ballots were delivered and counted. Yes, we need that to continue, and so we need each and every one of you to keep playing that central role in our democracy because you're holding it together. You're such an integral part of our communities. You're making sure that people are not only getting their ballots, but their letters, their paychecks, their prescription medications. And we see you step up and fight to elect leaders that communities need, the leaders that working people need, not just through making sure that every ballot gets delivered, but by helping to build support for our pro-worker candidates. And you've lived with the effects of politics. And you know the difference that it makes to have champions who fight for us in the halls of power. Here's what that looks like. Here's why that's important. Like getting the Postal Service Reform Act enacted. Finally, eliminating the pre-funding mandate and permanently protecting 6-day mail and package delivery. So critically important. It looks like having leaders who keep working people front and center in our plans for recovery. Mark mentioned the American Rescue Plan and the money that was dedicated to keeping our infrastructure strong. It looks like delivering a huge win with the Inflation Reduction Act that the House just sent to President Biden's desk on Friday. Why do we care about the Inflation Reduction Act? Well, the name should tell us, right? It's going to bring down costs for working people. It's going to help strengthen our middle class and protect our environment, cut the cost of prescription drugs and healthcare premiums. So this is a huge win, as Biden would say. This is a big, right? Huge win for working families, for seniors, and our future generations. And it includes more than $3 billion for the USPS to purchase zero-emission vehicles. That's going to help our future generations. And because we as a labor movement fought to include labor standards and domestic content requirements in this bill, it's going to create millions of good union jobs for the future. That's right. So that, my friends, is what's possible when we fight to elect leaders who will fight for us. And it's up to us, all of you in this room, to unpack that for our members. Because I don't know about you, but a lot of people don't know what's in these bills, right? This is a big Washington, D.C. thing. But we need to bring it to life in our communities. And we need to bring that same fight that you brought to passing that legislation, we need to bring that same fight to this upcoming election so that we can build on our majority, and we have 85 days left to do it. Does that alarm anyone? 85 days. So when we leave this convention, we have to make the most of all 85 of those days when we leave this hall. Because I don't know about you folks, when I'm looking across the country or even, just in our own communities, you see how polarized everything is. Do you feel that? You feel that out there at home? Everything is so charged. And the idea of getting out and talking politics seems a little daunting, right? Some people are afraid to talk to their own members right now because it's so polarized. But let me just remind you of this, that we, the labor movement, might be the only ones out there that can actually break through the noise, break through those echo chambers. I always think of Facebook. Facebook is where people are getting their news now. And if you get in what I call a Facebook bubble, and you're only hearing from certain sources or certain people, you get pretty limited information. And that's what is causing this division. And I don't know about you, but we are almost the last institution left standing that can actually break through that noise with face-to-face conversations. And in fact, we're the only institution left in the country that people trust. There's a Gallup poll that just came out on institutions in America, and they measured trust among the public, and it was, Congress and the library system and organized religion. Guess which institution is the only one left that people trust? Unions. That's right, the labor movement. And so, folks, we need to make the most of that trust. With all the misinformation out there, we have a responsibility to lead in this election and every election going forward. We are the only ones that can reach real workers, real working people in actual homes and communities, and have those face-to-face conversations, because that's the only way we break through the noise, is talking to each other, and people aren't talking to each other. So can you do that? Can you talk to your members, talk to your family, friends, and community? And of all the ways that we reach our members, those face-to-face conversations, they say that working people are 7 times more likely to listen and hear us if we talk face-to-face. And in fact, I think a lot of it is going to be listening instead of talking, right? They say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We want to talk to our members, but we also want to listen. What are the issues that they care about? And they're going to actually listen more if they're talking to someone they trust. So we want to work with you to figure out how to support you in having those conversations. And our state federations, as Mark was saying, we have an AFL-CIO network in every state, in every city. We have a central labor council. That gives us a reach and an infrastructure that nobody else has. So we're going to talk to our members. We're going to listen to the issues that they care about. Then we connect them to the candidates that share our values. And so if you haven't already, I never leave a crowd without an ask. So here's my first ask. If you have not already, connect with your central labor council, your AFL-CIO in your local community. That's step one. Step two is to appoint someone, a volunteer or a coordinator for your local that wakes up every morning thinking about how to mobilize your membership, building those connections, using those organizing tactics to build power. Can you do that? Can you do that? That's what I thought. Now, I know there's a lot of skepticism out there that this can be done, that we can break through. But if we buy into that negative narrative, it almost guarantees it will happen. So we can't buy into that. We have to do what unions do. Join together and fight back. Join together and fight back. And that's what we do as a federation. What's the idea behind a federation anyway? It's bringing together the whole breadth and scope of the labor movement, that 12.5 million members that Mark mentioned, 57 unions across all sectors of the economy in every zip code, bringing those unions together to take on the big challenges and use the power of organizing to win elections and take on major corporations like Amazon. That's right. Now, you all know firsthand what working with Amazon is like. The USPS handles more than 1 billion, that's a B, billion packages for them every year. And it's postal workers, it's delivery drivers, it's warehouse workers who make that company run, who make them successful, who make them record profits. But they don't share that record profit with working people, do they? And Jeff Bezos, you know that name. Jeff Bezos earned in 7 seconds what the average Amazon worker earned in a year. 7 seconds! In the time it took me to say this sentence, he earned in a year what the average worker there did. But Jeff Bezos can do more. But he's not doing it. And in fact, he and his corporate friends are doing whatever it takes to avoid offering good pay and good benefits and fair treatment of their workers. And we've seen them start to rely more on their own delivery services and try to crush attempts to form unions. And you've been focused on Amazon for a long time, right? You know this company. But we want the entire labor movement to know what you know. We want the entire labor movement to join together to fight back against Amazon. And you look at what we were able to do in Bessemer, Alabama. You see what happened in Bessemer, Alabama in a right-to-work state? Those workers coming together with RWDSU. And they knew, hey, we can't just have one union taking on Amazon, right? We had almost 20 unions come together in that organizing drive in Bessemer, Alabama. 100 organizers on the ground. 100 organizers. And that kind of collaboration had never been done before. And we came so close in Bessemer, Alabama. And we're still there. We're not giving up. And those workers are still organizing. And our unions are still there. But we came so close in a right-to-work state. And I often say that if that election in Bessemer, Alabama were to have taken place in New York, we would have 2 unions at Amazon. But I say all that because I see that collaboration as the model for organizing across our entire federation, our entire labor movement. Think about what we could do if we harnessed all that power and we used it to take on companies like Amazon together. Think about it. And I know your president, Mark Dimmenstein, has talked about this too. We can unite the entire labor movement around this fight. And that's the idea behind our Center for Transformational Organizing. And we just announced this in Philadelphia at our convention. What is the Center for Transformational Organizing, you ask? Well, the CTO is the place where we are going to capture the energy of this moment that is leading people to organize in all kinds of companies and all kinds of industries. Do you feel it? Do you see it around you? Workers rising up, taking risks, being bold in manufacturing, in breweries and coffee shops and stores like REI and Apple, stadiums, universities, even in the cannabis industry. And we like to say from seed to sale in the cannabis industry. I just met with those workers, and I will tell you, some of the most courageous workers, they always want to give me something when I leave, though. And I'm like, I'm from Oregon, yes, but even on Capitol Hill, they're organizing. So we see the CTO as a place where we take all of that energy and we use it to develop the movement-wide strategies that are going to build worker power for all working people. And you might have noticed, CEO pay is still going up, folks. Record profits. And we at the AFL-CIO just revealed, we do this every year, we have a pay watch study and we track the S&P 500 CEOs. Guess how much the average S&P 500 CEO makes compared to its average worker? 100 times? 200? 300? 324 times. 324 to 1 is what CEOs are making. That is unsustainable. That is unfair. It's just wrong. So what do we do about that? What do we do? We know the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musks of the world have enough money to pay their workers more and treat them better, and we are going to make sure they do. And I know you're up for the fight because you're always answering the call when our union brothers and sisters and siblings need us. And so how do we rebalance the scales? What do? We organize. We organize. And there is so much opportunity for organizing all around us. Private sector is 93% non-union. Okay? Public sector, 66% of the public sector not yet in unions. Does that alarm anyone? I hope so. Because if you look at which industries of our economy are growing, they're mostly non-union. Big tech, clean energy. I use those two examples because they're the fastest growing. So we need to make those industries union from the start. Think about the ways that renewable energy intersects with all of our work. It's everywhere. It's all around us. And we care about having a clean environment, don't we? For future generations? Yeah? So that's a good thing because we now have money for investments for zero-emission postal service vehicles. That's excellent. But we have a responsibility to make sure that the jobs that we create from all these investments in bringing down our carbon footprint, that's great, but we need to make sure that all of those jobs are not going to be low-wage, non-union jobs. They need to be union jobs. And so the AFL-CIO, I want to use this example of what's possible. We worked with our global union partners in Denmark recently to build a partnership with the offshore wind company called Ørsted, because we saw that all these companies were coming over to the US, and they are union over in their home countries, and then when they get to the US, they hire union busters, and they're non-union. So we said, you know what? We can actually do something different. We can leverage with our labor counterparts in the home country a top-down relationship, a top-down partnership, and we were able to negotiate a project labor agreement covering construction on all wind farms up and down the East Coast of the United States so that those jobs will be good union construction jobs, building that future. And so I use that example because it shows us what's possible when we come together collectively and we leverage our power. And we want to make sure that those opportunities are available to every community so we can leverage our power, actually, especially in communities of color who have been disproportionately hurt by irresponsible employers who don't care about harming the environment. We can use our leverage to make sure those communities have access to these good new union jobs. Because we know there's no racial justice without the economic justice that access to those high road jobs will bring. So we want to take that approach to every part of the clean energy economy, but we're not stopping there. That's just one example. Think about how technology is already changing your jobs. We want to bring this to the technology sector too, and everyone's eyes glaze over when I talk about technology. But it's all around us, you know it. It's reshaping every industry, every facet of our lives. Now, this sounds obvious, but if someone wants to develop technology that will truly improve our workplaces, don't you think they should start by talking to the people who actually will work with it? Us. So we need to be at every table when they're talking technology at the workplace, because we understand our industries better than anyone. We know what makes sense to automate or not, right? We know what would be a waste of time and money or what would be a safety hazard, because we're working on the front lines every single day. So that's why the AFL-CIO launched the Technology Institute, so that we can bring the brightest minds together in research and organizing and innovation, so that we put workers first and protect the people who make this country what it is. All right, so I think you're up for that challenge too, because we face a lot of challenges, folks. But if we do it together, that is the path forward. We use the strength of our entire labor movement, our entire federation. And in this moment where we're facing so many challenges to our jobs, to our economy, to our democracy, to our environment, to our freedoms, We have to face them together as a movement. So let's keep supporting each other, APWU. Let's keep fighting for each other and a better future for our next generation. Because when we face a challenge, we don't give up. We don't give up, not when our brothers and sisters and siblings need us, not when our pro-worker majority is on the line. When they say game over, we say game on. So let's keep working, let's keep fighting, and let's keep winning, because when we organize together, we rise together, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. Thank you, APWU.